What's going on, guys? Alec here from Oz Fury Gaming. Today I'm here to have a chat about the Gladius First Hawk and how these two ships are going to compare and what it's going to do for our future gameplay. Now, in regards to these ships, they are both very unique, so let's keep that in mind. Now we're going to start off looking at the body types, and as we can see here, the Gladius is a very tubular type body with a nice open canopy for the pilot to really foresee what's in front of him, as well as have some nice weapons beside him to really take down his opponents. Now, underneath on the back here, we can notice that it's got two big engines, but also it's got this underbelly wing arrangement, which I could imagine would really help for atmospheric flight and really help some maneuvering when you're trying to fight people on a planet or moon, whatever we want to call it. Now, that's not to say that the Hawk can't do that, but it has a very broad looking front end, and also too, with all guns facing forward, the pilot might have a bit of trouble actually seeing what they're doing when they're trying to hit targets. As can be seen here and here, the canopy's really sort of above most of the weapons and it's angled back really far. Now I imagine that's to try and deflect a lot of shells or bullets or lasers, but also too, it's kind of a unique position. Now from the top as well, it's a very large silhouette for a light fighter. As we can see, there's a big open space just behind the ship, but the rest of it's quite filled in, around the cockpit on those two front wings. It's quite easy to hit a target if you can track well. Now underneath, it doesn't have that armor, unfortunately. We can see the guns that are exposed. We can see that the engines are probably a bit easy to hit. Now that prisoner transport's on the back, you can hit from any angle. There's sort of no real protection for that. So with all this talk of the silhouettes and the ship's build, how does it stack up? Well, the Hawk actually has more armor than the Gladius, but the shields are on par, and then your countermeasures, well, they're probably the same, from what they can tell in the Q&A there. Now, let's have a look at some actual weapons. Now, the Gladius can mount up to 3 by size 3 guns, and has those beautiful missiles attached to it, while the Anvil Hawk has 4 size 2 guns, 2 size 1 gun mounts, and 1 EMP. Now, we don't have the full stats for, the maneuvering of the Hawk, but we can see here that it's quite slow at only 500 meters per second. Now the Gladius is obviously exceptionally faster, but it's meant to be a fighter, like a tracking down ship. It's meant to be on a carrier, so it's meant to fly really quickly and get into the fight. And this makes me feel that the Hawk isn't going to be able to do what we see in this image here by tracking down enemy ships such as a Cutlass or anything when they start to outrun you. That's where those missiles from the Gladius will come into play. Now that is a feeling for the Hawk of being slow as a starter bounty hunting ship. That's what was talked about in the Q&A. On to weapons now. So the CF117 Bulldog repeater is part of a family from Klaus and Werner repeaters. They go up to size 3, and they're quite a common weapon used on all ships. And the way we're going to calculate the damage output is in minutes, not per second, as they have done here. And that's simply because ships don't die in like 3 to 5 seconds, they die within 15 to 60 seconds. So we have the size 2 weapons here, so 300 by 52 damage brings us to 15,600 damage output. Also, we have spread of fire, so this is not accurate hitting, this is just if something was in front of you, and the raw damage output. Now the size 3, 270 rounds per minute by 95, big difference, brings it to 26,125. So we can see that the size 3 guns will definitely do more work. Now, we've got the scatter gun here simply to give a different idea of how different guns work. So they do 70 rounds per minute by 18 damage, for example, but there are 10 shots per round. Okay, so you got to times that by 10. So the size 1 gun there's 12,600 damage per minute. My apologies. The size 2 gun will do a nice amount of 21,000 damage per minute, and the size 3 gun again will do roughly 28,000 damage per minute. Now, I'll bring this up to our knowledge primarily because it gives us a good idea of where the ships will sit. The Hawk will out damage with its guns, but it doesn't have the range of the size 3, so that's another big difference. How does the cooling work with it? Having more guns is great, but will the coolers be able to take it? There's a whole bunch of things that come into play that raw damage stats just can't help. Like I said before too, will you be able to see with all your guns? Will you be able to accurately hit people? Blah, 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 blah. Now the Hawk, I would imagine, will be more of a big wall of damage, as the Gladius is going to be more of a sniper. You're going to have to be accurate with those 3 size 3 guns. The other thing to take into account too is the Hawk hides its guns pretty well, so I could imagine that it's going to be harder to lose guns, but if you did lose one gun on the Hawk, you still got a large array. As for the Gladius, if you lose a gun, you have lost a heck of a lot of DPM. So, with this all being said and done, we've got to remember that they are two different design ships with two different ideas in mind, but they are both technically class light fighters. The Hawk is a beautiful ship, but as a light fighter, I would take the Gladius. But as a multi-purpose ship, I think the Hawk would probably work really well, considering we can use that prisoner cell as a sleeping position. So if you're doing long distance travel or whatever, or as long distance as you can fly, I'd imagine that the Hawk would be a much more suitable choice for any pilot. So guys, this finishes me up for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like if you did like it, dislike in a comment as well. If you didn't like it, and just leave why you didn't like it. It just helps me work out what to do better. And then if you want to see more, just hit that subscribe button, and I'll do my best to keep content rolling out. That's good. Thanks for joining in, guys, and I hope you have a good Christmas period, and I hope to catch you around the verse. Toodaloo.